Welcome back to another episode of
Family Meeting.
My name is Matt Glass.
And I'm AJ Sonari.
And this is Family Meeting, the discussion-based portion of the Family Album podcast.
Yeah.
Now... God damn it. I felt so good with that intro, too. I mean, honestly, it's just as well. I didn't have a really good segue out of that into, like, our topic, so I'll just be upfront with y'all. We talked before about, like, bands that we kind of fell out of love with in our Gateway Bands episode.
Exactly.
So in a similar vein, but, like, slightly augmented, we're going to talk about some albums from our Family Album podcast.
Yes.
That we have changed our minds on for better or for worse.
Absolutely. We got 5 each with a couple of honorable mentions. Albums that we either grown to appreciate more, that the more that we've re-listened to them, or in my case, disliked more. I have a lot of those on here after these few re-listens. So I'm excited to see how our opinions have differed over the months of recording.
I have 5 and then an honorable mention, which I will honestly just tell you right now.
All right, go off.
So one of the albums that I tried my best with this episode to look at some of the albums that, like, I kind of remember like my ranking for, but like may not exactly be as set in stone as other albums recently have been. So I took a look at some of the ones where I felt like I did not give like the most like definitive ranking. So I started with this isn't technically part of my list, but I just want to say Halsey's Badlands.
Yeah.
Halsey, I very much respect you as an artist. I think you're pretty cool. However, that album is really boring.
Yeah.
It's like, I found it even more boring than the other one. As a debut album, it's pretty fucking cool. I mean, I'm glad. I'm glad you got the chance. And I'm glad that you've excelled and that you've
improved,
risen to new heights in popularity and even in musicality. But frankly, it is way too long.
Yeah, it's not a very fun listen through and through.
Elizabeth, I like you a little bit less. Upon this re-listen, I like you a little bit less, but it's okay.
Dude. Albums ruining friendships.
Yeah, friends became enemies, enemies became friends.
And family is no more.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. But no, yeah, we'll get into the actual
list.
Yeah, AJ, I think you should go first.
I should go first?
I'm really intrigued to hear what you have to say.
All right, I'm surprised a lot of these actually came from season 2. I feel like most of my season 1 albums are pretty set in stone.
And they're all mine, by the way. These albums are all my albums that no, I'm kidding.
Don't get ahead of yourself, Matt. Bastile's only on here 4 times.
Let's make it 5. No.
But I'm gonna start out with one of mine, and that is 347 EST by Klaatu. I actually grew to like this album a lot more. I think I was way harsher on this album than I deserved to be. I think I gave this like a C+ on a first listen, but it's not nowhere near like that average. It's a very good album. It's a very fun debut.
For the time, yeah, especially.
Exactly. It was very creative, kind of harkening back to the psychedelic pop of the 60s while also putting their own kind of proggy, I guess a more modern kind of take on it. And they had a lot of fun ideas. It was really just, there was a lot of clever uses of sound effects and like instrumentation. All the fucking orchestration with the strings was really cool.
Oh my God, yeah. Really
fun concepts and really ambitious for a debut. And I think Klaatu pulled it off very well. And I think I was just really set on bringing an album that I wanted to hate on, that I kind of forced my emotions on that album, but it did not deserve that. I say it's at least a B tier. It's a very, very fun album through and through.
And I'd say for like a Beatles emulator, kind of like Klaatu, since they, kind of fell into the rumor
they got
hype,
labeled into that.
They fell into the rumor hype and kind of rode on that wave.
Yeah.
I would say like they not only kind of emulate it, but they almost like do the sound and like, not even the sound. I'd say they flesh out the ideas like even more than the Beatles I think would have. Not could have, but would have. And I respect the hell out of that.
Definitely.
It's literally just like if the Beatles psychedelic period went more psychedelic, I think.
Exactly, yeah. And they're able to kind of take that even further, given like the advancements in technology and just the more creative, ambitious ideas.
And when you look at that in the grand scheme of things, I respect the hell out of that because they were obviously inspired by something that the Beatles did.
Exactly.
And I think that if anything, trying to make songs of all those different varieties and all those different styles, I feel like it's sort of like a love letter to them in a way.
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely hear the inspiration behind it, and it's a very faithful recreation, but also in a way that implements their own style. And I think it's a very fun album through and through. So that'll do it for me for my first pick. So Matt, what is your first album that you've changed your mind on?
That was a very valid take, AJ.
Thank you.
I respect the hell out of it.
I recognize my faults.
I would say that with mine, it was usually for me either like a letter would change or the number would change. Usually not like both, except for one maybe.
Okay.
But and that one you were going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh dear.
So my first album is actually from one of our guest episodes, and it's actually from the Ben and Evan episode. It's an album that I grew to really just appreciate through and through, and that is Rock Spectacle by the Bare Naked Ladies, the live album.
Nice.
I mean, I really thoroughly enjoyed it when I listened to it for that episode. I gave it a B+ and a 9 out of 10, but I will say I had to bring it up at least a letter to like a low A.
Nice.
Because honestly, here's the thing. I went back and listened to all of the studio recordings. Jane is most definitely my favorite one. That one is just so catchy, and I just really like the
great hook.
And Brian Wilson. I really like Brian Wilson.
It's iconic.
And even like These Apples.
Okay.
Like I know Evan doesn't really like that one, but like it is really, really. I personally really like the instrumentation.
Yeah, like every song on that album is like just really pleasant to listen to.
And it's pleasant to listen to besides instrumentation and like composition because it's mixed and mastered
beautifully.
So brilliantly. Like I think it's incredible that you forget that it's a live album.
Exactly, yeah.
Because they mix the audience so well and only emphasize their presence in certain parts.
The audience enhances, doesn't take away.
Exactly, which is actually a criticism for a later album that we're going to review.
Oh boy.
Which it did not take away from my opinions of said album because I still love it to death, but we'll get to that later.
A little sneak peek.
But I will say though, I gave Rock Spectacle a B+ and a 9 out of 10. I bumped it up to low A and a 9.2.
Nice.
Because I really have grown to just love having this on in the background. And I get grooving, man. Like you bob your head and it's just, I like his voice.
Yeah.
Especially on like, Break Your Heart. He lets out this like ungodly scream and I'm just like, holy shit, man. Like if he's doing that on tour, like
good for him.
Like Ben brought up on the episode.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty fucking cool, man. So, honestly, yeah, I have a newfound respect for this album. Not newfound, I mean, I liked it before.
Even greater respect.
Even greater respect. So yeah, thank you so much, Evan, for bringing it on. I've listened to it while I've been working many a time.
Hell yeah, I'm sure Evan will appreciate that. My opinion's still gonna stay the same. It is a very, very good live album, but it's just not really something I really want to go back to that often.
It is very much like, not even dad rock. It's like, how would I even describe it? I guess new dad rock?
And you. New dad rock?
Yeah, new dad rock. Because, like, you know, a lot of the new dads are people, you know, from, like, the 90s and stuff, so.
Exactly.
It's, I guess in this millennial age, technically it is new dad rock.
I guess that also goes for, like, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all those guys.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Now that they're being added to classic rock stations, which is fucking crazy.
AJ, are we creating a new subgenre?
New dad rock?
New dad rock?
Put on your New Balances, baby.
Patented on the Family Album podcast. Nobody steal that. Nobody steal that.
I swear to God, if you do, I will spit in your mailbox.
Yeah. You don't even want to fucking know what I'm gonna do in your mailbox. But anyway, AJ, before we threaten our audience even more, tell me your second album that you changed your mind on, for better or for worse.
Well, I think from here on out, all these albums are for worse, unfortunately. But we have a pretty recent album that we're bringing up, also from a guest episode for me, and this is Logan Fogerty's guest episode. Oh no! My number 2 album is Religiously by Bailey Zimmerman.
Okay.
It's not Hootie and the Blowfish.
I was gonna say, like, Religiously can go lower?
Oh, it can go lower.
Oh God, how?
By a very small margin, but it can go lower.
What exactly made it go lower on this, like, re-listen?
On this, so I'll say this again for an album I'll get to later, probably at the very end, but it was kind of remembering and reminiscing on the experience I had listening to this album, where even though I can appreciate, like, the production and all, like, the the vulnerability and the lyricism. I had the most miserable listening experience on this album that I had for this entire show. Like, it was so brutal to get through. Like, I listened to this album like 6 times and I barely retained any of it.
Yeah.
Like, it was such a slog every time I listened to it. There was no variety, such repetitious song structures and hooks that just didn't do anything for me. And just oh my God, the constant theme of just like a relationship and heartbreak, but doing really nothing with it just drove me insane. So this album I originally gave a D-. It's my first F tier. This album is
first F tier.
I do not like this album.
Holy shit! I wish that we did edits for this for like these episodes.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, that's incredible.
This album is fucking abysmal. I do not like it.
Okay, I see.
Matt, any thoughts on Religiously? Can you see where I'm coming from?
Oh, I mean, without a doubt, yeah. I can definitely see all the reason to not like this album, unless you're simple-minded, to be honest with you.
Logan.
I love you, Logan, but like, Jesus Christ, he's less simple-minded. Logan's just easygoing.
Exactly.
There's a difference. Yeah. No, I think I completely agree with you. This is just canned industry grade.
Yes. Schlock.
Mainstream schlock for country fans.
Literally. There's everything that is on this album is the same thing. It's all follows a formula, and there's like nothing interesting about it. And it's delivered in such a monotonous, like, insufferable way.
I've been telling you at 10:22. That's the time I saw I don't know
Take
about you. Tangled up in blue.
I only wanna be with you.
I actually listened to Hold My Hand last night.
It's a fun album.
I did this bit last night with Logan, actually, because Logan and I are roommates. I did this bit where we were about to go to bed, and I had it playing all the way down on my phone, and then slowly I started just bringing up the volume like one notch at a time, so the music was starting to swell like out of nowhere, and it got quite a laugh out of Logan, which I was very happy about.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I can definitely see why you would feel this way about this record.
Yeah, there's just nothing rewarding in this listen. It's just the same thing over and over again, and if you like it, that's great. I will never touch this album again.
No, yeah. I hope this album never touches me again as well. I'm more than positive that my ranking for that album is most definitely going to stay where it is.
Fair enough.
Probably a bit higher than yours, but at the same time, I think I'm good.
Yeah, same principle.
Same principle.
But yeah, man, what's your number 2?
Let me also just preface, I only have one album from this season in my list.
Okay, so we're kind of like reversed then.
AJ, I think I may have told you about this before, and I am so sorry to break your heart about this, but...
Just like Hootie and the Blowfish. I mean, Bare Naked Ladies.
That is a differentiation that needs to be acknowledged.
Sorry, I'm getting my new dad rock confused.
God. So, Are We Not Men, We Are Devo?
Yeah.
I gotta say, upon this re-listen, because this was an album that I kind of just... I remember I took notes for, but I was like, I don't really remember what these sound like.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you, man. Upon this re-listen, it did not drop a letter grade, but it did drop by 9 decimal points.
Okay, that's pretty big.
It went from a 7.8 to a 6.9.
Nice.
I don't think that the album instrumentally is bad, and I do still, the reason why I didn't drop lower is because, like, I still very much, like, respect all the stuff that they did.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, like, it was just this really, like, experimental, like, kind of all over the place.
Yeah, new wave. You got Brian Eno on the boards, too.
Which is cool, and that's also why I didn't want to drop it lower. But, like, there were some of these on here where I was just kind of like, Jocko Homo... I gotta say, like, upon that re-listen, I was like, this is just, like...
a lot.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I can definitely see that.
And I said something, because I also wanted to hear what, like, I said about, like, on that episode.
Yeah.
I compared this album to, like, Rock Lobster if they just did it over and over and over and over again, like, vocally. And... I don't know. The guy's delivery kind of pissed me off a little bit.
Yeah, it's very silly, and kind of like in your face.
The album cover is still pretty fucking good.
I love it.
It's so funny. Which is why, like, they obviously have a sense of humor, and they obviously just care about, like, you know, like the trying to make some very interesting sounding music, which I still very much respect. But upon this re-listen, it definitely just
soured a little bit.
It definitely made me realize that this is really even less for me than I thought.
I gotcha.
And I think it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe I gotta listen to their other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've only listened to 2 Devo albums, and I know, like, Freedom of Choice, the album with Whip It, their most popular song, is a lot more accessible, so maybe that might be your cup of tea, but I can totally see, like, your opinions are very valid for not enjoying their debut. It is very much out there, very in your face, a little inaccessible at points, so I can 100% see why.
I will keep it in the same letter grade, but it did drop a significant amount of points. But I think I can keep it in the same letter grade. I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Because I kind of think of my letter grade and my number grade as kind of two separate.
Yeah, like opinions. I gotcha.
Which I think in the beginning of our podcast, I kept thinking that there was like a fixed like relation between the two. Like, oh, if it's 6, then it has to be in B. Or if it's, and I think I've been trying to get out of the habit of doing that.
I gotcha.
Because I think they can be separate.
Yeah, definitely. I just prefer to streamline the process and just go all letter grades. That just works for me. But I guess that'll bring us to number 3. So for number 3, I have one of your albums, Matt. I apologize.
It's okay.
Not as bad as Religiously.
Okay.
I swear.
It's okay.
We have Hurry Up, We're Dreaming by MA3. So I still think is a very good album all the way through. But not as good as I thought it was. A lot of the songs that I had on my playlist, I would constantly kind of like skip, besides like Midnight City, just because like they just didn't really like click for me anymore, or just like the instrumental just wasn't as like good as I remember. So like a lot of them got taken off that playlist. And when I look back at that album as a whole, there is a lot of fluff in there. It's a pretty long album with a lot of little interludes, which while cool is kind of unnecessary. I definitely respect the ambition and kind of like the creativity that MA3 had when crafting this album, and it's such a really cool, lush soundscape with very retro, nostalgic 80s vibes, but there's a lot of fat that could have been trimmed. But again, it's still a very good album. I really like I forget what the song is called, but like the song that's all in French, it's about like dementia, is really powerful.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you have songs like I didn't write it down. It's the song about the UFO. It's like you could cut that. Like we don't need to be here this long. But again, it's from I think I gave like an A. It's like back to a B. Good album, but some faults.
So that's funny that you mentioned this album because like I really was strongly considering putting it on my list for today.
Yeah. Because
it definitely did change an opinion because I realized I only really like 1, maybe 2 songs off of that record. There's one song that I just really, really like listening to that's like a minute long.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the more interlude-y ones. Interlude-y?
New adjective.
Yeah. There's this one instrumental called My Tears Are Becoming a Sea, and I really, really like that one because I just love his fucking vocals on that and just the weird, like, orchestral, like,
ambience
breakdown.
Yeah.
It's really cool, but I will say though, like pacing wise, the album can be a little rough.
Yeah,
I say, but I mean, it's all good stuff. I think you got to mix it in with some other things.
Definitely,
there is such a thing as just too much indie, you know. Yeah. Contrary to popular belief,
yes.
If this was like 2016, you'd probably disagree with me. But the thing is, there is such a thing as too much indie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And
I feel like this very much kind of like falls on the latter.
Still, I definitely respect where he was kind of coming from with this. It is still a very well done project, but I'm not gonna really go out of my way to listen to this album frequently. So yeah, Matt, what is your number 3?
So my number 3 is one that I think you're gonna be kind of surprised by.
Okay.
And that is actually the Normal album by Will Wood.
Okay.
So upon re-listens to some of the tracks and also doing even more research about like him and his fan base and like all that stuff, I will say my respect for this album definitely grew a bit. It went from a semi-letter grade, so it went from C- to C+.
Yeah.
It went from a C- to a C+, and I brought it from a 5.1 to a 5.8.
Gotcha.
Because I think I can respect the instrumentation, which is definitely, in my opinion, the main draw.
That's the best part of the album, by far.
Without a doubt. But I think it's because, like, I started to kind of understand a lot of, like, it was a lot of the fan reception that made me sort of, like, respect this album a bit more. Because I think a lot of the time Will Wood is trying to like sort of encapsulate this like manic state of like ideas.
Yeah.
I still don't think he articulates it well enough for it to be like a flawless album.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it was lyrically tighter, this album could honestly be a 7.
Mm-hmm.
But frankly, I don't know.
There's a lot of poor execution on his part.
But I will say, I do like his delivery in actually in most of the tracks on this record.
Mm-hmm.
Pacing wise, it's still like a little bit rough because like the beginning is just so front loaded.
Yeah.
Then the ending just kind of feels like, all right, thanks, man. We're going to die. Appreciate it. Thanks for reminding me. But, yeah, I think I was a little bit too harsh on this record, to be honest with you. This one was also another one where I was kind of like, I want to bring this in to just like, not hate on it per se, but like kind of talk about like what a wacky album this is.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I gotta admit though, the tracks that do hit really do hit for me. So I really felt the need to bring it up a little bit higher. Not too much higher, but just a little higher.
Yeah.
This is not my hot take, by the way.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I can't wait to hear what that is.
Oh, you're gonna be like, what? Seriously. But yeah, that is my rehash of the Normal album.
Yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. After we put out that episode, I was a little worried that we were gonna get like backlash from Wood fans because I also saw just how much they love and like resonate with that album. Because there's definitely a lot of like serious topics that are explored in such a unique way that can really kind of resonate with a specific group of people. And I don't want to take that away from like them because that's like their thing.
And I will add that like for people who might be like, I don't know, in not the best quality of life or like suffering from mental issues, I feel like he almost emulates this sort of like lack of reason and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And lack of like, not lack of logical thinking, but lack of like cognitive awareness that like if somebody was in like a manic state, that it might be stream of consciousness and where all these thoughts are kind of just like breezing in and out of your head like in the, like harsh winds or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think he's able to capture that sort of manic state very well, especially when he like screams and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I gotta respect it for that because I think instrumentation, like I still think that's where the album is the most successful. But the lyrics, I don't think necessarily I'm like, oh yeah, these lyrics are flawless. But his delivery is what makes the lyrics like, it gives
them like the appeal.
The appeal and the aesthetic and the vibe. Like his delivery should not be overlooked on this record, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I felt the need to honestly put it up just a little bit higher.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Me personally, it's going to stick in the D tier because I didn't really enjoy it. But I definitely see why so many people like it, and I don't want to take that away from anyone. So yeah, should I move on to number 4 then?
Absolutely.
All right, so number 4 is another guest album. This is from our episode in January. This is A Long Drive. For someone with nothing to think about.
I really wanted to tread carefully because this is also another one where I was like, I really don't love this album.
Yeah.
Because there are later, I did listen to some later Modest Mouse stuff, and I will say, Alec is very right about that.
Yeah.
Their later, where they go is really, really, it's pretty good. But AJ, what made you like this a little less?
Again, like the more I thought about this, I didn't enjoy my album listening experience. Like I believe I mentioned on that episode, like my fatigue hit at like track 6, which is like maybe 20 minutes into the album, and it's like an hour and like 15 minutes. It's pretty bad for like an album run. Like it's such a slog to get through. I forget the lead vocalist's name, but his voice is really grating at parts, especially when he gets louder and when he screams. It just like really sours me on a lot of these tracks. The song concepts and instrumentation are cool, but they're not like super different enough to really kind of like be memorable or like to, I guess, attach yourself to. And it's just like really it captures this feeling of just like monotony and like I guess like when you have like nowhere to go, which is fitting for the concept of the album. But it's not a really fun listening experience through and through. So I think I gave this a C-. I'm gonna give this like a D+. It's just, I didn't enjoy it, unfortunately.
No, I can definitely see that. The length, without a doubt, especially with the lack of variety, can make this album a little bit grueling.
Yeah.
I remember when I was kind of working a shitty job at the time, as I was like listening to this album, I really just, I remember thinking like, man, this thing is really, really long.
Yeah.
So I think, because I know Modest Mouse also has a decently big following.
Yeah.
So
and I'm sure all their stuff after this is like wonderful. I've listened to Float On, which is great, but
I like Wobbly. Wobbly is a really, really fun song. I think his vocal delivery is like so wacky, but I'm like, I vibe with this. They kind of go with a bit more of a funk kind of sound.
Oh, cool.
And I'm just like, that's cool. I'm sorry, it sounded like I said fun kind of sound. Funk. They went with a funk kind of sound.
Yeah, they got Nate Roos to feature.
I would cry. I would not want to hear that.
Nah.
Anyway, yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from with this.
Yeah, I really respect the ambition for their debut to just try all these wacky ideas and like stick to the concept so faithfully, but it just was not a pleasant like listening experience, and I didn't really take away a lot of the tracks either. So yeah, it had to drop down for me. But Matt, what is your number 4?
So my number 4, I was really curious as to like what I ranked this album, because I remember really liking it, and then I liked it even more.
Oh shit.
Because like we've talked about how much I like this album, but I was like, what is my actual score? And I was like, oh shit, I need to change that.
And it's The Good Witch by Macy Peters.
No, it's actually an album that you brought.
Oh, cool.
I was so surprised that I ranked it this low, because I put it in A tier, and it's gonna probably go to A+ tier. It's Drunk by Thundercat.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I put it at 7.5.
Damn, really?
And I was like, holy shit, what? Because I listen to that album like all of the time, and like more Thundercat stuff.
Yeah, man.
So I put it at 9.10. What the fuck does
9
that?
9 out of 10 out of 10.
It really sucks. No, a 4 out of 5 out of 10. 8 tenths out of 10. Oh my god.
Listen to Tom Hayes Remain in Light to get that.
That is one of my favorite episodes I've ever edited.
That was a good one.
No, yeah, I was so surprised by my number ranking, so I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I was like, I gotta fucking put this higher. Let me think, what's the track? Give me a second, audience. Let me just see. There's a track I really want to shout out, because oh my fucking god, like, I love it. It's shit. It's
Where's it in the album?
It's the one with like the synth in the beginning where it's like in editing the Drunk episode for the Ween retrospective, which guys, please take a listen to that.
It was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, and honestly, I feel like even though I say I have so many premature fucks all across that episode, it's very, very fun, and I really enjoyed talking about Ween, because I feel like the points we had and the passion we had was actually like really,
because it was so raw, because we weren't feeling like insecure because we were so drunk.
I was way more drunk than AJ was.
That's
oh my
true.
god, I did sober up rather quickly though afterwards, because I hadn't eaten anything in that episode. But anyway, I mentioned on that episode I have a playlist called Black Fucking Coffee, which is like a wake up playlist that I have that has like acid rap, like jazz rap, and just some like soul. I got a lot of stuff kind of going in there. I wanted it to be like deep, dark, and rich. You know what I mean? That was kind of like the whole point of like the name and like the thumbnail. And I wanted it to have just like an absolute vibe. Like almost like if you were just to stare into like the endless abyss of stirring coffee.
Yeah.
You could listen to like any of these songs and just be like, oh yeah, this
is it.
This is correct. Yeah. And Friend Zone was actually one of the ones I added, because I added a few Thundercat ones in there off of Drunk, and I really, really grew an appreciation for this album and this track alone as I would wake up and hear that.
Yeah.
Something about it, I'd always be like, I'm ready to start the day. You know what I mean?
I got you, man.
Honestly, yeah, I really love this album a lot. I fucking love the Tron suite.
Yeah, man.
Still,
so
like, the
good.
drums are so good. One track that I actually like really, really grew an appreciation for was Where I'm Going.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That one's a fun one. And I just think that the album, upon the full re-listen that I did, it's paced like pretty good. I complained about it being a bit on the longer side in our episode.
Yeah. But
I gotta say, I really, really grew to like this album. I think it's sensational from start to finish. I think it has a nice element of humor, but like it's not like the main reliant thing on this record.
It's like a little like undercurrent.
Yeah, and I think that he just like, his delivery is just perfect for what this album is.
Exactly.
So yeah, I had to give it a 9 out of 10 and put it keep it in A tier.
Nice.
A+, I guess.
I would completely agree. I said my praises on the drunk episode, not the drunk ween episode. The episode we talked about drunk.
We have to differentiate now. That's
I know.
Crazy. Because we talk about that episode all the time.
That's our favorite episode.
It's definitely not.
No. But yeah, I would agree with the pacing, even though it's like over 20 tracks, it's like you don't really feel the fatigue until like the very, very end. But at that point, it's kind of part of the whole concept of like rabbit holes, so it kind of works.
Yeah, no, for sure.
There's a lot of like really fun, groovy instrumentals in there, and Thundercat is a fantastic MC. Like, he has such great personality, such an amazing voice, and an incredible fucking bassist.
Oh my god. And just like some of these concepts, instrumentation-wise, are just like, I would have never come up with that.
Yeah, right?
Like, especially for a genre like this. So my newfound respect for, it's not newfound respect.
It's even greater.
It's correction, really. I don't know why I put it so low. Maybe I just didn't understand enough about album flow in the beginning, because I mentioned this on a couple other episodes, like me, I guess for lack of better terms, becoming an album critic. Was one, not on my 2023 bingo card, but also actually technically 2022 bingo card. But also it definitely helped me understand like a lot of things about like album release, album flow. And this podcast has helped me like articulate a lot of stuff.
Hell yeah, man.
I like to think that this has been, besides entertainment, hopefully for whoever's listening, I like to think this is sort of a learning experience for me, because I very much have looked at music because of this whole project in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the goal of the show, to educate and entertain, and to become better music critics.
Exactly.
But Matt, we're drawing to the end of our little top 5 albums we changed our mind on. So for my number 5, the Big Kahuna, Matt, we have Cry Baby by Melanie Martinez.
AJ, what about, you hate this record.
I despise this record.
You hate this record.
Yes.
What could you possibly hate more about this record?
I hate that it's not an S tier, which is why.
Oh, that's so funny. I genuinely was not expecting that. That was pretty good.
Thank you.
But really, AJ, what made you like this even less?
Oh, dude. So I've talked about this album like at length in various different episodes.
It's practically like right underneath like our Nate Roos.
Yes.
Like, I'm pretty sure we talked about this, then maybe something right under that, and this is third place.
100%.
We've mentioned this album since we listened to it so many times.
It's been like a plague that I have not been cured of since that episode. Like, before that episode, I had never heard of Melanie Martinez, but after Elizabeth brought that album onto the show, it's stuck in my brain, and I fucking hate it, and it makes me so upset. Because, bar the allegations, Melanie Martinez is a horrible fucking person.
Yes.
This album sucks ass. Oh my god, the concept is so fucking weird and uncomfortable, and the way she goes about talking about these serious adult subjects with like a fucking baby microscope, it's so weird, and it feels like she's not taking it seriously. It feels insensitive.
And the music videos too.
The music videos are fucking gross and weird.
They are. Like, listen, I know there's probably an audience for this, you know what I mean? But like, I did go back and watch a few of them, and I was like, I can't continue with this.
No, like going back to just like the insensitivity. Like, for those who haven't listened to this album, like there's a track called Tag Your It, which talks about sexual assault.
Is that the one that I mentioned was kind of like a weird, like,
I think so.
There was one that I was like, this feels kind of weird to be.
Yeah, this feels like gross. This feels wrong. This feels very like distasteful.
Milk and Cookies too. That one is also considerably like
Sippy Cup is really weird too. It's about like this it's about kind of like alcoholism and like how she gets poisoned by like her stepmom or stuff. It's fucking gross and weird. Melanie Martinez is just not like a pleasant voice to listen to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The instrumentation and production is probably the strongest point, but at the same time, it feels like stock music at points, like on Carousel. It's just like baby, like, what the fuck's that thing called? Mobile, like, music.
Baby mobile, yeah.
Baby mobile music, for like that was taken from Envato Elements. It's crazy. I don't care for this album.
No, I would definitely double down on your take on how she goes about addressing these topics.
Yeah.
Because, like, here's the thing. I think in theory, if you wanted to sort of like take a story but have it through like the lens of like a little kid.
Yeah.
There are more tasteful ways to do that. But like you mentioned with like Tag You're It, and was it like Ice Cream Man? Isn't there like a whole fucking thing where
that is in Tag You're It. The Ice Cream Man is like the villain.
Yeah, because he like kidnapped.
Yes.
Yeah, like no, I would definitely agree with that. I feel like when I was listening to this, because this is before I kind of got a sense of like concept and like not really sense of concept, but like trying to detect what the overarching like. I wasn't a lyrics guy. I wasn't a lyrics guy. Let's just put it like that. But I think most definitely upon kind of like what you're saying and like looking at like the videos for a lot of these songs, I just like I kind of wonder like, why did you do this?
Yeah, like. I get going back to what you said about like, you can do this in so many better ways. Absolutely, that as a concept is a very good idea, but it's not like, oh, since like they're a little kid, they're gonna think about it with like sippy cups and carousels. It's like, no, that's so fucking wrong.
Some of these are like really not, they're not topics that you can take lightly.
No. And like I assume that wasn't her like intention.
Yeah.
But the way that it was executed was just so like poor. And it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
It tasted like syrup out of a sippy cup.
Exactly, and it sounded like she was pissing in your ear during that song.
Oh yeah, that album is very wet. I do remember that. I do remember that, yeah.
Ugh.
Oh god. Yeah. I have not touched that album since one of the songs for a little while was coming up again, like in my Spotify DJ be like, all right, we're gonna get to your, and I was like, oh, hi. Hello, Melanie.
No, thank you.
And I would be like, yeah, no. What was it? Is there a soap one?
Yep, one called Soap.
Yeah, that was...
the bubble bath bass drop. That's another song that can go fuck itself.
Oh, man. Yeah, no. I think... you know what, AJ? You fucking convinced me. I think that you can, in fact, go lower.
I think I can finally put my beef with Crybaby to rest, because I am officially putting this in F tier as well. This album sucks ass, and I don't want to talk about it ever again. This is my catharsis.
AJ, speaking of albums that you didn't like...
Yeah! Let's keep it going, Matt! What's up?
There was one that I guess I had like a weird sort of like up and down line graph curve with, because for some reason upon this re-listen, I actually kind of like this album again.
Is it The Grand Illusion by Styx?
No. That one's definitely staying where it is. It's just there.
Yeah.
No, You're probably gonna think I'm fucking crazy.
What's that?
So I originally put this album as a 4 out of 10 and in C tier.
Oh boy.
But I brought it up to a 6.8 out of 10.
What is it?
It is Death of a Bachelor by Panic at the Disco.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So, okay. This one, I'm gonna preface with something right now. When we recorded that episode, I had a much higher grade, and I think your disdain for it definitely like
had an effect,
brought it down.
Gotcha.
I was like, oh, maybe this album isn't as good as I thought. And I think from that episode, I just stayed away from Panic at the Disco, and I had like a bit of a like abhorrence. I don't know if that's a word.
Fuck. I know what you're trying to say, but I don't know the word.
I kind of just they had a sour taste. What? Aversion.
Yeah.
I had it sounded like I said a virgin. My bad. It sounded like I said
We're
that.
talking about Weezer soon. Don't worry.
Tom, it's out. No. Oh god. Technically, won't this release after?
This will come before that episode comes out.
Okay. Gotcha. That was really funny, AJ. So I think I had quite an aversion of this, towards this album. I recently re-listened to. I used to have like a playlist of Panic at the Disco songs.
Yeah.
With like a lot of these songs mixed in, and I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should give this a re-listen. And I gotta say, I think I still like this more than I thought I did.
Yeah.
Because like, and let me just preface, it's for nostalgia reasons. Like, I think there are definitely points where Brendan Urie's delivery is quite obnoxious.
Yes.
That opener is still very jarring, but the problem is I know all the words to it, and I sang all the words to every song when I listened to it. And I was just like, you know what? I can appreciate the album for what it is for nostalgia reasons, and there are portions on this album where I'm like, okay, this does go hard. Like Death of a Bachelor.
Yeah, that's one of the best songs on the album.
The title track, it definitely is. But I do agree in some aspects. There are songs that are like House of Memories and Golden Days.
Yeah.
House of Memories is such an ass song. You know what? I'm gonna go on a little rant. Right? House of Memories is not a good song. I will die on this fucking hill. It trended on TikTok because it went, slow down reverb. And you know what they fucking did? They released a slow down reverb of House of Memories.
Really?
Panic at the Disco.
What the why?
The only member, Brendan Urie himself, you know, when the band broke up, so he broke up with himself.
He's just like MA3.
He's just, pretty much. No, but here's the thing. They released a slow down reverb of it, which was such a fucking, like, bad business tactic.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Viva Las Vengeance was not going to do well. Mm-hmm. That's an album I really want to bring on for you, AJ.
Oh, I've heard things.
I have opinions. Some of them good, some of them not really good.
Can't wait.
Upon re-listen though, like I used to listen to this album all of the time, and I had like every single song like added to the playlist I mentioned, except for like House of Memories, because that song because of it retrending, I was like, I don't fucking like the song anymore.
I gotcha.
Golden Days is also like kind of a nothing song, but although it's really compressed, I do like it a lot because I think the chorus is actually kind of catchy and it's got a lot of cymbals, and then the horn sections when they come out and you can actually hear them.
Yes, when they're not buried.
I think it's a pretty neat concept. It reminds me of like a marching band. It's like it felt like a marching band that was late to the Black Parade, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Like that's what it reminds me of.
That's a cool analogy.
But I didn't put this like higher than like the 6 to like 7 range.
Yeah.
I put it 6.8 out of 10 because I will say, as much as I have nostalgic reasons for this album, and I brought it up because this is where I actually kind of started in the Panic at the Disco like discography, which is why I hold a lot of sentimental value to this album. I will acknowledge that there are better albums in their discography, like Pretty Odd. Pretty Odd is a much better album than this album. The reason why I didn't put it any higher is because this is when it started to dramatically change.
Yes, to the Brendan Urie solo project.
And I think I really still don't like this album for that reason alone, because at some point he should have just made it his own thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. He started going to this whole thing about like dark Hollywood, occult Hollywood, and it was just like, it's a neat concept, but do it on your own name.
Yeah.
You probably still would have gotten like a decent following. You probably would have gotten like less of a following, but like a close following.
Definitely.
Because people probably loved your voice from Panic. So frankly, I don't know. Personally, I just really feel like I needed to bring it a bit higher because I still like a lot of the songs of this album, like Death of a Bachelor. Emperor's New Clothes is one where I know, like, it's such a fucking goofy song, but his vocals are really good on this one.
Okay.
I will say.
Yeah.
The Good, the Bad, and the Dirty also kind of goes hard. Just a little bit.
Fair enough.
I'm willing to be confident in that. I think it goes hard.
That's good.
I think there's an appeal. But I felt like I needed to kind of go back on this one because like I can confidently say I do like this album a lot more than a 4 out of 10 would indicate. So it went from 4 out of 10 with C to 6.8 out of 10. And I'd probably put it like, B, low B.
Low B?
Low B. It's definitely not A.
Yeah.
I would say if any of them are A, it's probably like Pretty Odd or like
their debut.
Maybe their debut. I don't know. Like here's the thing. Like I said, I like this album because it's where I started and I have a lot of sentimental like value toward it because of where this hit in my life. Because I love Impossible Year. That's probably my favorite track on the entire record.
Yeah.
Because it's
That's
such
a closer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a good closer because it's such a come down after like all this madness
chaos,
you hear.
yeah.
And I remember just like in my theater days, I was sitting like in my kitchen in the dark, like drinking tea, making sure my voice was in shape.
Pretending I was smoking a cigar.
You know, like looking out into the window. It's raining, but I still listened to Impossible Year even after I like gave my opinions on the album.
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed to fix it. So Death of a Bachelor kind of grew on me, but I do very much acknowledge the fact that it is filled with a lot of flaws.
Yeah.
So I can definitely like agree to disagree on our opinions of this, but I still personally kind of like it for sentimental value.
I think that's definitely fair. I'm glad we kind of reached the point in our podcasting career where we're not letting our own opinions influence the other, which is very nice.
AJ, and let me tell you, I unplugged my headphones right now.
Holy shit, dude! Yo, let's go.
It wouldn't be the family album if I didn't unplug my headphones.
Add it to the counter. Well, we're not going to do that because no edits.
No edits.
Not allowed.
No. It's Future Matt. Fuck off. Yeah, Future Matt is not doing this because I am, well, I guess Present Matt. I don't know. Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Matt.
Havoc. Days of Future Matt. It's just I'm every X-Men. Oh, dude. I would watch...
Matt Klops. Matt Vereen. Matlock. Matt Gangel.
Dr. Charles Matt Xavier. Oh
Matt
my god.
Nito.
Matt Nito. I was just about to say. Oh my god. I would watch the fuck out of that. I'm not gonna lie.
Sick.
That would probably be an ego like booster and an ego ruiner at the same time.
If there's any animators listening to this, please animate the X-Matt.
No, but do it from the family album like cover art from season 1, where I'm in that sweater that just does not fit me at all. No, I was going to say, I think the reason why I felt confident enough to say this is because from our conversations and me learning how to articulate and differentiate like reasons why I like things a bit more besides just like instrumentation and stuff like that. I think it's kind of through like our experience of like talking to one another because like I said, I feel like this whole project that we've had has been like a learning experience for like music listening, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's put a nice new fun on like enjoying media in general, because I'm starting to do this with movies too.
Nice.
I'm starting to kind of like do little personal reviews of movies. So
dude.
I think this has been a very, very fun run for what we've had so far.
Definitely. This was a nice way to look back on all the albums that we've gone through, a nice little trip down memory lane as we approach the end of season 2. And yeah, I think this, I definitely agree. This has definitely helped me kind of bolster my skills as a music analyst and critic, and I'm very happy to do it with you, Matt.
Likewise, AJ.
But I think that'll do it then, right?
I would say so.
All right, guys.
Well, this has been an episode of
Family Meeting.
As always, I'm Matt Glass.
And I'm AJ Tenari.
And we will see you next week. Peace!